Hi, I'm Pam.
Hi, and I'm Peter.
And this is lesson 4, worship. When I was first a Christian, I remember thinking that worship was just that 20 minutes once a week at church, the singing part.
Right.
And I've come to understand that it is so much more.
It really is. Let's take a moment now and let's take a look at Luke 5, 8 to 11. When Simon Peter realized what had happened, he fell to his knees before Jesus and said, "O Lord, please leave me. I'm such a sinful man." For he was awestruck by the number of fish they had caught, as were the others with him. His partners James and John, the sons of Zebedee, were also amazed. Jesus replied to Simon, "Don't be afraid. From now on, you'll be fishing for people." And as soon as they landed, they left everything and followed Jesus.
God created us to worship, which is why worship makes sense. But seeing Jesus as our Savior changes our perspective of worship. It becomes a position we take before the Lord. In Luke 5, 8 to 11, Peter comes to a place where he recognizes who he is in relation to who Jesus is. Realizing the immense difference, Peter's reaction is to drop to his knees in worship. Jesus is elevated and Peter worships him because he's aware of how great he is. As a disciple, we lift Christ up knowing he is our Savior. When we see Jesus for who he is, worship is no longer an option. It becomes a state of hunger in our hearts. Worship is a vital part of being a disciple as it gives us perspective. Okay, now let's have a look at our life application segment and hear a personal story about worship.
We have just finished chapter 4 called Worship, and we'd love to hear how you've applied this to your personal life.
Yeah, it was actually in 2011 when we got hit with some really hard news. We just found out that Sean, my older brother, died. He drowned in Kelowna, and it was really devastating for our family. And I remember being on that beach because they couldn't find his body yet. And I was thinking to myself, like, God, I don't know what to do in this moment. This is hard. This is difficult. Why? I had a lot of questions. And if I think about what Jesus would have done in that moment, even when he had to go to the cross, and as a follower of Jesus, even when there was a hard thing that was presented before him, he still looked to the Father and worshiped and trusted God. And so in that moment, I just chose to trust God, and we circled up on that beach and we worshiped God. We sang praises to God, even in our tears and in our pain. And in that moment, inviting Jesus to be at the center of that moment was huge. It allowed us to begin to move forward and process the pain. So that was hard, definitely hard, but allowing Jesus to come into that moment was huge. It was important. Yeah.
It's so easy to worship Jesus when everything's going great.
Right.
But during those times of hardship, that just shows a lot of maturity that you and your family started worshiping when there was so much pain.
Right.
Yes.
What would you say would be the most challenging part of worship?
Well, I think it's, flash forward a month later from when we lost Sean, my cousin Richard, 26 years old, drowns and dies. And so I think for me, it's that continual place of worship. I look at Jesus's life and I'm like, how did he do it? How did he continue to honor and give glory to the Father? And he's asking us as followers to keep worshiping him. And we just got hit with even more worse news. But I thought about even his followers, the disciples in the Bible, they had their moments of weaknesses. They made their mistakes. But constantly I was reminded to keep going back to the Father. And again, we grabbed a guitar in that moment, in that hard news, and we began to worship God. We began to sing to God. And this peace keeps coming back. And I just felt this sense of assurance that God will be able to see us through this moment as we worshiped him and trusted him with that hard news.
Wow,
Yeah.
Mandela. What an incredible testimony to what can happen when we worship.
Yeah.
Worship Jesus through the hardest, through the good, through the bad, through
And
everything
the
in
ugly.
between. What can happen from
Right.
that? What would you say is the most important piece that you'd want to leave with everyone?
It's that worship isn't just a moment a place. It's not just going to Sunday service. It's not just when somebody pulls out a guitar and sings songs. It's every day. Worship is a lifestyle. And it's not easy to remember that all the time. That's why I bring this up, and I encourage those who are listening to keep inviting Jesus into every moment of every day. When you worship Jesus through the storms, when you worship Jesus through the good, the bad, or the ugly, then you will be able to see clearly, and he'll lead you on the right path. Worship is a lifestyle. Jesus is not just a Sunday Jesus. He's every day. That's why worship should be every day.
I love that. Worship is a lifestyle. Our life is worship.
That's right.
Yeah. So thank you, Mandela, for
Thank
spending
you.
time with us
Thank
today.
you so much.
Happy to be here. Thank you both.
Wow, that was an amazing testimony.
Yeah. Mandela helped me see that my life is covered by God in good and in bad.
Yeah, I really think that Psalms 5:11 is extremely appropriate. I'm just going to read from that. But let all who take refuge in you rejoice. Let them sing joyful praises forever. Spread your protection over them, that all who love your name may be filled with joy. I pray that today you're filled with joy. Thank you.